Well, hello, and a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Xandermonium, the talk show that gets you talking. I'm your host, Xander Gibb, and today, along with my co-host, broadcaster, writer, singer, songwriter, Tyhe Egar, I will be looking at this week's hottest topics, and we will be taking your calls on the issues that count for you. More to come in a mere moment. As per usual, you can interact with us during the show in the chat at the bottom of the page. Keep scrolling down, it will take you there. Now, if it's not letting you comment, it's because you actually have to have an account with Blog Talk, so you can join with Facebook or Twitter. So just do that. It's very simple. Then you can join in our conversation. You can call us with questions and comments to weigh in on our topics or start your own on 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061, or on Twitter. You can tweet us. We have all the modcons here. You can tweet me at Xander Gibb, Xandergibb, capital X, capital G. And you can also tweet Tyhe, and his Twitter handle is at Tyhe Egar, TYHEPAULEGAR. Tweet me if you're too shy, and I will make your point for you. Oh, yes, I will. So I had a very exciting week this week in many ways, and after what seems like an eternity, I now have a professional website that looks absolutely fabulous. You can check it out at www.xandergibb.com and let me know what you think. Now, it was one of the main areas of my professional life that had been letting me down for so long, and I've been saying that I would sort it out, and finally I did. So bully for me. But it made me think that there was always a one part of our lives that leaves us wishing things were different or better or even less chaotic. And it challenged me, really. It made me write a life laundry list. And the list included everything from sorting out my old files on the computer to sorting out my sock drawer. And believe me, I don't even want to know what might be lurking in my sock drawer. So that is my recommendation for the week. Write yourself a life laundry list and get that scrubbing brush out. So, on a totally different topic, the conflict still continues in Israel and Palestine, and it spills over into everyday life, from conversations around the water cooler to threads on social media. Now, the divide that's occurring is very scary, and it's kind of indicative of what's actually going on over there. So both sides of the conflict are convinced they're totally right and will not budge and refuse to dialogue efficiently enough to actually break through and make a difference. Now, the anti-Semitic undertones in all of this are most disturbing, and having Jewish heritage and also being able to not challenge this kind of behavior, because you know me, I can't keep my mouth shut. I've gotten into a few scrapes on social media. Now, I would never be one to say, if you disagree with Israel, that you're anti-Semitic, but if the language you use to describe your perspective, when it's based on the watered-down opinions of others who are clearly anti-Semitic, what does that say about you? I urge you to check out the facts before blindly picking sides based upon how many pictures of dead children you have seen and how many people have been killed on each side. Because let's face it, the death tolls are always estimations, and they're always subject to inflation. That's not to say that any loss of life is at all acceptable. Now, it's also important to remember one thing, that there is no such thing as a partial ceasefire. It's like saying you're partially dead. It does not equate. Now, I really do pray that there will be peace for both sides in this situation, and a real lasting peace at that. Also, I'd like you to remember this week our brother Andrew Tamarisi, Sergeant Andrew Tamarisi, who is still in jail in Mexico. Please lobby your Senator and President Obama who clearly is totally unaware of this situation, or he would have done something by now. Check out Free Our Marine on Facebook and Twitter, and check out freeourmarine.com. And you can also now donate. Andrew's mom, Jill, was on the Dr. Gina show, Smart Life, this week, and they have set up a fund for to pay for his legal fees, because his life savings have obviously gone, because there's no free legal help over there. So you can donate to this fund at www.andrewfreedomfund.com. That's www.andrewfreedomfund.com. We'll tweet that out later, and we'll also put it on the website. Whatever you can afford to donate will help, so please do that, even if it's only a couple of bucks. Now, if you'd like to come and get on your soapbox, please email me at Xander@XanderGibb.com. That's Xander@XanderGibb.com. Oh, yes, indeed. So joining me today to break down this week's hottest topics in his inimitable style as broadcaster libertarian. Notes from the last week. I forgot to change the auto cue. There you go. It's not the broadcaster. It's actually T.P. Egar, author, writer, singer, songwriter, and very good friend of mine. So sorry about the ballsed up intro, but welcome to the show today, Tyhe. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I just got a bit flustered when I realized I'd not altered the auto cue, and it was giving me last week's information regarding the intro. So how has your week been, and what's happened this week for you that's really stood out?
Well, I'm glad I'm not a libertarian anyway, but not a lot really.
Maybe you are. I don't know. It's not for me to put labels on you.
I don't know. I'll have to research myself and see whether I am a libertarian or not.
Exactly.
Well, nothing
what
really.
What do the papers
I've been. I've not. I've kind of had my head down researching my own stuff really. So the world, the same as you with Israel. Obviously, I've been going. I mean, I'm a little bit more ignorant than most, I think, to it at the moment. It's just obviously concern. So many people are losing their lives, and there's so much hatred seems to be being passed backwards and forwards. So I suppose that's the thing that's really stood out to me, not just this week, obviously, the past months or so. But the rest of the time, I'm afraid I've been, my head just pops up occasionally to see what's going on in the world. But the rest of the time, I've been doing a lot of research on quantum physics, actually, and human anatomy. So there you go. That's been my week.
You've not been hooking up your microwave to the computer and trying to do like weird science style experiments. We put this roast chicken in, and the other side it came out as beef, or anything like that.
No, not yet. I put it in as a chicken and it came out as a cat. No, that's Schrodinger, isn't it? But no, I haven't. I haven't thought about it yet. But I'm sure the cat's still in the box and really pissed off that it's there. But so yes, that's in my.
But the science fiction writer.
Just to point that out to anybody who's never listened to us before, maybe or whatever. Yes, it's part of my second book. Yes, the book 2 of the Reclamation Wars. I've kind of made a rod for my own back, and so now I have to, as much as I can. I'm studying quantum physics for idiots, which is still really complicated. I found out, but that's what I've had to do. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, it's funny, talking of writing, I don't know if you've experienced this too, but you know that obviously people start to read your stuff because they buy your book. And when they start to ask you questions about the character and where they're going and where they've been and what's going on, I find it kind of exciting because it's like I've created this world and people are kind of like in on it now. And it's kind of obscure when they ask you, do you find this? When people talk to you about things in your book and where was this and what was that about, do you find that?
I find it's really interesting. I was speaking to somebody actually last week, and I didn't realize I was having a conversation with him, and it wasn't until about 5 minutes into the conversation that I realized he'd read the book, and it was really
right.
So he was discussing the characters with me, but he he's really enjoyed the book, and obviously asking me about the second one, but he was talking about the characters in the first one, particularly one of the detectives, and he's basically really got into the characters, which is great. But as you're saying as well, yeah, it was really strange to be discussing characters that I've created with somebody who has clearly really got into them and has got his head around them,
right?
And having this discussion about them as if they're real people, because obviously to me or you, they are real people when we create
exactly.
Them. But it was kind of strange. Yeah, it was exciting to have this conversation with somebody. So suddenly, these people are not just on a page anymore. They're out here in the world, and I'm having this discussion with somebody about them as if they're real people. So that was really cool. Yeah.
One of the things that I found, which for me, although my book is fiction, it's kind of like loosely based upon some of my experiences. And so what people are actually trying to do, this is what I'm finding, they're trying to find out which bits were real and which bits were just authored, and which characters are based on who. I mean, I've had several threats of violence about people saying that was based on me and that was too close to the bone and that wasn't very nice and we're going to fly to New York to beat you up, Xander. And I'm like, bring it on, baby. I'll introduce you to my friends Smith and Weston. But it's astounding how apparently the town where I used to live in the UK is buzzing with talk about my book, which I just find amazing. And as long as they all buy it, I really don't care. I've got your money now.
Absolutely.
So go forth and multiply.
Absolutely. But I do have friends who pick themselves out, because there are characters in the book who are based loosely on Friends, or are based, actually two of them are based quite strongly on Friends. The main lead female character, Nerese Morecambe, is based very strongly on a friend of mine, and she hadn't picked it up. She'd read the book, and I said, well, she's based on you. Do you not realise that? And then another friend, excuse me, had picked up that he's, one of the gay characters is based on him. So that was quite amusing. But fortunately, they're very positive characters. So I haven't had anybody.
Right.
I haven't killed anybody off yet that I don't like. So I think I'm saving them for the second book, because that's a much bigger book, and it's going to be a lot more detailed, and there will be more violence in it, basically. So I think all the people I haven't liked through my life, I'll kill them off in the second one.
That's very interesting that you should say that, because it gives you that level of power. And I think in my second book, I'm going to kind of enjoy killing people off. Maybe I'll let my sister die of obesity. But some of the people, I kept the same names, but others I obviously changed and just based them on them. And they would never know that the character was really kind of like about them. But, the beauty of what people have pointed out several times that they've read the book is, what's the name of the lead character? He doesn't have a name because it's called The Boy from Beyond the Ice House, but he's always referred to as the boy. And he never says, hello, my name is whatever, but maybe I'll reveal his name in the second book. But the second book is going to be interesting. I started doing some writing the other day, and I wrote for a few hours, and I've not had the same level of time to give to this book yet. But obviously when you get to a point where you really got to finish it, you really kind of like get on with it. But for me, when I read back what I'd written already, and I live the book when I'm writing it, kind of, and I was already thinking, oh, I missed this person, I missed that character, because you kind of like, it's like they're on this journey with you, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But mine now is the basis. I mean, the second book for me is there are so many more characters. So I'm a lot of the time now I'm creating, because I'm in a place in the story now where, because the second book obviously is called Neath World, so this is where the change, I'm not going to say too much for anybody who hasn't read the book yet, but this is where the huge change has occurred. So there are two separate stories happening, so I'm in the process now of creating all these new characters and linking them up and linking the stories together. So, but I didn't realise just how many characters I was going to have to create. Some of them you'll only get, they're only going to be mentioned briefly, but they're important in the linking of the stories. But I'm creating all these new people and frantically writing their names down and what their their relevance is in the story and where they're going to go, and am I keeping them? You know. So
and the beauty is
that's a huge thing.
And obviously with my second book, you're going to be one of the featured characters in my second book, so I get to share some of our, because we have had some really hilarious experiences over the past 25 years, and we've met some absolutely zany people along the way that it would just be criminal not to involve them, not to kind of write about them. So I'm going to be kind of like incorporating all of that too. But the beauty is it's your baby, isn't it? And so you're in, we've said this before, but you're in full control. You're the one that kind of gets to you play God really when you're a writer, because you
completely.
And I've heard people say in Hollywood the writers are God because they can just write you out. They can just say write this that you're gone. Yeah. So you do there is this control element, I think, with being a writer, and I like it, but I kind of don't. How can I put it? Like some writers, they sit and storyboard everything, and they write all these lists about the characters and what they do and all of that. And whilst that works for some people, I just write it and how I think it's going to go. It never goes that way. I'm always very surprised by what the characters do, because they kind of like take on a life of their own. They're like, no, Xander, I wouldn't do that. I'm doing this. And it's like, oh, right, okay. Calling the mental health professionals.
Absolutely. But you're right, though. I mean, you're playing God, but also with that comes responsibility, because you've then got to keep those characters true. And when your readers engage the way that mine seem to have, you've got a responsibility to them as well, to not let them down and keep those characters fresh and keep them real and keep them, the same personalities. Once you've created those personalities, you've got to allow them to grow as well as people do and change and react to their environment. So there's a huge responsibility, I think, comes with that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, let's look at some news stories. The first thing that jumped out at me this week was that a judge in Italy who will ultimately be deciding who are the legal parents of two twins born via IVF. Their embryos were implanted into the wrong mother. Now, in a case that's gripped Italy, two couples are fighting for the custody of the babies born last week, and the families have a very similar names, sharing 5 of the same 7 letters. Now, the mother who carried the babies refuses to give up the children, but the couple intend to sue. Judge Silvia Albano told the press this week that he needed time to consider what was going on. Now, the error was not noticed until the mother who gave birth to the twins had a genetic test at 3 months to check for illness, which revealed that her and her partner were not the biological parents of the child. Now, when the babies were born, the biological parents said that they were happy that everything went well, even though that they'd not been able to have the pleasure of holding their newborns. But the other couple said, "We feel their pain and we are also suffering. We suggest that we all meet, but they have never come back to us." Now, this is really kind of I'm sure this has happened a lot, but what's your response to this, Tyhe? Who should get to keep the babies? Who legally has the right to keep the babies? And who's at fault in all of this?
Well, having read that and I thought about it, this is what the main story I really obviously kind of thought over since reading it. And from the point of view of the judge, I think it's very easy for us to sit, outside this. It must be, what a horrendous thing to happen to both families. But
exactly.
At the end of the day, they are saying very clearly they are not the biological parents. So as far as I would be concerned as a judge, the children have to go to their biological parents. End of story. Right. Because how are you going to say to those kids in the future, you were forced legally to stay with these parents even though they are not your biological parents? We knew they were not your biological parents, but too bad, But then where has this other family disappeared to? Where have they gone? I don't know. I don't really understand what's happened in the middle of this. And obviously, we don't know any more about the story. This is where the story seems to have ended so far as the press releases have gone. But yeah, so for me, what a terrible story. And obviously, if it's IVF, both these families have been struggling to have children. So it must be devastating. It must be devastating that they think they finally had children to find out that they're not their children. Goodness knows how that must feel. But at the end of the day, as far as the judgment is concerned, that they should be going to their biological parents.
I would totally tend to agree with you. What I actually got from reading the story was that the reason the two families are not coming together is because they want it to be sorted out legally. Because how can you, the woman's given birth to the kids, so as far as she's concerned, they're her children. However, biologically, they actually belong to someone else, and this must be so traumatic for the woman that's actually given birth to actually give them up because they feel like her children. They came out of her body, even though the base ingredient was not hers genetically. But I think that they're obviously going to have to point the finger because they are going to sue someone for it, and I think that the hospital is to blame. Now, I'm sure that there are lots of things in place to prevent this from happening, and I'm sure it's a 1 in a million chance. I'm sure this doesn't happen that often. But when it does, obviously, this is why hospitals have insurance, because I think the birth mother does deserve compensating. I mean, I don't know if the biological parents deserve compensating or whether they will be compensated, but I think that the blame lies with the hospital here and not the biological parents or the birth parents. Would you agree with that?
Oh, totally. I mean, they can't blame. I mean, the parents didn't inseminate themselves, did they? It's absolutely the hospital's responsibility, and they can't walk away from that. So, absolutely, the blame lies with the hospital. I mean, as far as suing them, I'm sure that's on their mind at the minute. I'm sure both parties have a case, don't they? Because they now. I mean, what happens if they do decide to go to war? These two families. The mother who gave birth is saying, "I'm not giving these children if I carried them." But obviously, the other parents have the legal argument that there are children biologically, so they've both been traumatized. So yes, they both, in my mind, they both have a case. But certainly, the hospital are totally to blame. You can't possibly blame either parent. They weren't surgically. The hospital was completely responsible for everything.
Right. I don't know how you ever would recover from that. I really don't. I mean, even when you're not related to children, you can become really attached to them. So obviously, this woman's been given this woman's given birth to these children, and now she's going to have to hand them off to someone else, and I think that must be a really devastating thing to encounter. To actually go through something like that. I really feel for her. I'm going to kind of try and keep an eye on this story to report back to find out what's happening. And what I think is interesting is that they've not named the couples. Usually they would give out names and stuff like that. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't, because the last thing you want when this kind of thing is going on, I'm sure, is like press intrusion, because you're going through enough anyway without having to deal with, because let's face it, we've both had experiences with the media and they're not that honest, are they,
No, no, absolutely not. And you're right. I mean, thank God they haven't released their names, because I mean the trauma's enough. But as you're saying, because this poor woman, the father, she's carried these babies for 9 months, and so this family has basically, gone through the whole process of nesting or whatever you want to call it, of brooding, expecting their children to arrive for that whole 9 months. The families have been preparing. So emotionally, I mean, how many people have been involved in that? It must be horrendous. But yes, thank God the press have chosen to show some decency and some integrity, and not release their names. So I mean, that's one small mercy, I suppose. Yeah.
Who'd have thought finally some integrity in journalism? I'm sure that a lot of journalists are, whenever I've been commissioned to write a piece, whoever it's for or about, I've always really tried to make sure that what I've written is honest and correct and factual. And I know that everybody who writes stuff puts their own spin on it, but it's so important to maintain an element of impartiality. because I think that that's the sign of a good journalist, but I don't see that happens that often. Like when you read any particular story, you can actually tell from the language they use where they're coming from.
Yeah, I've never written anything from a journalistic point of view. So, but I understand. Obviously, you're right. I mean, it should be impartial. Of course, it should be. You're reporting this news to people. You're not telling it from your point of view, or you shouldn't be telling it from your point of view. You should be just literally reporting the facts. Although,
exactly.
As you say, that doesn't happen often these days. Everybody has a biased opinion, but so thankfully that they've done that. It seems in this case they have reported the facts and nothing else. And so let's hope it stays that way for now. But I'm sure this is going to get, sadly, I'm sure this is going to get quite messy when it comes to the emotional content.
Because when they tell the birth parents to give up the children, they're going to have to enforce that. And what if they could flee the country? They could say, no, you're not having, they're my kids. I'm leaving with them. I don't know. It's hard. I do see both sides of this, and I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make the decision. But just from a legal perspective, it's clearly the birth parents that should have to. I'm sorry, it's the biological parents that should take over the role of parenting. Just from a legal perspective.
Yeah. Well, certainly, not just from a legal perspective. I think it's not just from a legal perspective for me. It's from the moral perspective, from an emotional perspective. These children, we know for a fact who the parents of these children are, and they're wanted. Do you know what I mean? It's not confusion. It's not a case of they were adopted and suddenly the birth parents have changed their minds, or they were going to be adopted, or they're surrogate children. I mean, this has been a tragic mistake made by the hospital. But these children, they know that the birth parents want them. They know who the birth parents are, biologically. So there's no kind of confusion here, and there's nobody changing their mind. It's been a devastating error on the part of the hospital. So the decision, I don't envy the judge at all, but I think it has to be made in that cold way. It has
it does.
These are the facts,
unfortunately.
This is it,
Unfortunately, but I think that if nothing else, that the hospital, as well as compensating probably both parents, needs to totally they need to be brought to task for this, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And the final question after all this is, of course, I mean, IVF is extremely expensive as well. So I mean, I'm sure I doubt they'll want to go to that. I doubt they'll want to go to that hospital again. But obviously, then as far as recompense goes, then they should be paying for more IVF treatment as well, because I'm assuming that will need to be done again. They're going to have to go through that whole process again.
And what happened to the woman's eggs? The woman, the birth mother's eggs. Where are they?
Absolutely.
And what's going on with that? But I think we'll keep an eye on this and report back.
Yeah.
Now, talking of babies, it's time for a Bieber update. So Justin Bieber, his music is known to bring young girls flocking, start riots, and as recently repel bears. Now, Egar, I can't pronounce this, Vorosibisin, is a Russian fisherman who was reportedly being attacked by a brown bear, but escaped death after his Justin Bieber ringtone went off, which allegedly scared the beast away. I could hardly believe my luck when the phone went off and he fled, he said. And he was Russian. That was my Russian accent. So the Russian native was heading to a local fishing spot when the bear suddenly appeared and attacked him. But thanks to Bieber's smash hit Baby, the bear was startled and fled into the forest. I know that sort of ringtone is not to everybody's taste, but my grandmother loaded it onto my phone for a joke, he explained. So, however, the quality of the music isn't what ceased the attack, but rather the music's volume, the New York Post reports. Sometimes a sharp shock can stop an angry bear in its tracks, and that ringtone would be a very unexpected sound for a bear, an expert has claimed. Well, I know ringtones has never scared any bears that I've known, but don't you think this is funny? I mean, Justin Bieber is always in the press for something, but now he's saved a man from a bear attack.
Well, absolutely. Can I just say, by the way, that accent took me straight back into a Bond movie, Xander. That was fabulous. But excuse me.
Where's that mute button?
Well, obviously, it was the shot, it was the tone, it was the sound that scared the bear away. But
right.
I suppose after the roasting that we've given Bieber over the few months, I suppose at least finally he's done some good. So he saved somebody. Well, he hasn't saved somebody's life. His ringtone saved somebody's life. But luckily for the guy, he should go home and thank his granddaughter. Thank God she programmed. He may not like Bieber, but there you go. If it hadn't been for that, if it had been something subdued, the bear could have got him, killed him. So
exactly.
Well, there you go.
I wonder if it probably would have worked with any kind of music, but it's just ironic that it was Justin Bieber's that did it. I did wonder. I had to read this twice because I always like to mention the Justin Bieber stories because I think it's funny and sad and crazy. But when I read this, I wondered if it was something that his PR people may have made up because they often do this. They make up. They make up stories to kind of like inflame the ego of the artist. I don't know. Maybe it's the case. Maybe it's not. I wonder how popular Justin Bieber actually is in Russia.
Oh no, I think he's very popular. But I see, if I'd done that as his PR agent, if I was going to make that story up, I'd have had the bear start to dance. That would have been much more amusing to me. In fact, that I'm a PR genius. We should that should be a cell phone. They should make that into a cell phone ad now. The bear is attacking this guy, and the Justin Bieber song starts, and then the bear starts to join in, going, "Baby, baby, baby, ah." Yeah, absolutely. Stop mauling the man and start dancing. That would be my PR campaign for him now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
I just want to know.
He's big everywhere, isn't he?
Pardon?
I think he's big everywhere, isn't it? Oh, please, give me 12. I'd break him like a twig.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. So, in the same vein, I spotted this story. I always like to keep people up to date on the Kardashians. And Khloe and Kourtney got into a bitch fight this week, as revealed in a sneak preview from tonight's episode even, of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. As the sisters were taking a walk through Khloe's new home, Kourt blurted out, "All we have left to take care of is I just need to have my check sent." Kourtney wanted to charge Khloe for helping her design her home and wanted $25,000. And so Khloe says, "The $25, you must be out of your mind. Get over yourself." To which Kourtney says, "Why would you string me along and have me keep working? Do you like my Kardashian accent?" Khloe refused to pay and even gave her a little dig about her supposed work. "What work? I've done everything with you," Khloe Kardashian fired back. Kourtney said she spent a lot of time and needed her money for that. Finally, Kourtney Kardashian, pregnant with her third child, stormed out and said, "Enjoy living here with your disgusting, cheesy finishes." Now, there's just so many elements to this for me. Number one, they obviously have more money than God. So if you're giving design advice, if you lived here and you invited me over to your apartment and you said, "Xander, would that look good there? What would look good with this?" For me to then say to you, "Oh, Ty, well, you owe me $100 for the advice," it's hilarious, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And I haven't seen what the work that was done, but the idea that you're going to charge a sibling to help them design the home Well, probably only a Kardashian would do that, I suppose. Isn't that the point of this family, this ridiculous family? This is just my opinion, not Xandermonium. Sorry, before we go on. So it just seems outrageous to say, and 25 grand, really. I mean, what has she done for that? I mean, there should be photos. I need to see photographic evidence. But
right.
You know, I don't really see what you could possibly have done as a sister that I would pay you 25k for. Really?
Yeah.
Just the whole. And also, though, where was the conversation in the first place? Where did this figure come from? Why did she assume she was going to be paid, and why wasn't it discussed in the first place? But why 25k?
Yeah, that certainly would be my point, because to then come to somebody after and say, oh, by the way, you owe me so-and-so for that, is really kind of, it's kind of disturbing. But, you know, it's one thing if she was an interior designer, that's fine. But don't tell me that they don't get advice from other people. I've seen this show, and I've seen how well the places are kind of like, they're set dressed, because no one would live like that. No one would really have that level of glitz and glam. They want them to be made out to be this big Hollywood royalty family, because that goes, you know, it goes with the show, and it's become a huge concern. But I think that I've heard so many people lately saying that they're so sick of reality TV. I wonder if it's on the way out. What do you think?
I mean, well, people still keep watching reality TV, though, don't they? I mean, if people were that sick of it, surely it would stop. But I think it has. It does seem to be now. I've noticed a few reality TV shows over here are suddenly they're taking the cast now over to America and putting them in different situations where they can show just how truly stupid they are. You know, it's a case of when just when he thought they couldn't get any more simple, guess what? So they've started doing that. But you know, I've always said, as far as reality TV, I can't bear it. It drives me insane. But I think people must be getting sick of it now, because where do you go with it ultimately? How many times can you watch somebody bitch about life in their living room when they've got more money than God? Or when they're complaining about wallpaper, or they're complaining about their shoes, or they're going shopping for something. I mean, seriously, is your life that dull that watching this excites you? If this is entertainment for you and you're listening to the show, get up, get a life, and get over it.
I mean, I agree. And if people want to, you know, hear somebody bitching about their life, they can come around to my house anytime and listen
Absolutely.
to that going on. They don't even need to turn on their TVs. But I wonder what the continuing allure is with keeping up with the Kardashians, because I've got a lot of hassle for saying this, but I don't feel like they've got any discernible talent. And you know, I've been rebuked for saying that, because apparently they're very good with fashion. You know, they have a fashion industry. I don't think they're that really good with the fashion. I just think that they've been very lucky. I mean, they had one clothing store, or two clothing stores before they started the show. And obviously the show gives you a platform to kind of like move on for other things. I mean, you know, we know that how important it is to diversify, because you and I don't do just one thing. We don't just do broadcasting. We sing, we write. You know, I produce.
Yeah.
You know, you produce. We all have fingers in more than one pie, because it's imperative to do so. I mean, where do they go from here? I saw something last year where Kim Kardashian was trying to present some TV show, and I also saw her acting, and she wasn't that hot either. I think that where do they go? Where do they go from here? Because your name, your brand, will only sell you so far.
Well, I think that's the point as well, isn't it? Exactly. But it's the same as watching them. I mean, how much TV can you stand watching people do exactly the same thing in every show? And yeah, you're right. I don't understand. I mean, as far as fashion, to be honest, I mean, I just wear what I like. I wouldn't know a fashion designer if they fell on me. They would have to introduce it. You know, I couldn't look at somebody and go, oh, that's Versace, or that's this, or that's that. I would never profess to be any kind of fashion conscious person. In fact, right now I look like something that exploded inside a leg warmer. So, you know, it's, but I can't understand it, and I don't get it, and I don't really see how far it can go. But then how long have they been on TV now? I've genuinely never watched an episode. I have no clue.
I think it must be about 6 or 7 years. It's been quite a while, because when it
Really?
first started, the youngest girls are like 18, 19 now, and they were only like 7 or 8. No, they must have been about 10 or 11. So it's got to be about 7 or 8 years. I couldn't tell you like precisely, but I think every series, it's got to the point now where they've kind of like exhausted everything, and they've even kind of like she's split up. She's not divorced from her husband, but they're estranged, and they live in different houses. And I just think they come up with all of these things, because it's obviously all scripted. I mean, I've known people that have worked on these reality shows, and there's a script every day, and it's not just to say, hey, we're doing this. It's kind of like, they tell them what they're going to talk about, what they're going to fight about, on all of these things. So reality TV is not really that real. But the best of it, I think, was, what about the Osbournes, Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon Osbourne? They were like the front runners with all of this. And I think that was good quality stuff. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, but I think that was genuine, though, wasn't it? I mean, that was,
exactly.
To start, that was a house in chaos. But also they had the good sense to stop as well. They just said, right, enough is enough. We've gone as far as we want to go. You've seen everything you can possibly see. We're stopping. But I think that was genuine.
Exactly.
Because it was. You were seeing what was going on, in the house, what was happening between them, interacting as a family. And it was, I think it was much more genuine. But they are, they're a family with a real history, do you know what I mean, through music and they've had a lot of pain in their lives as well. So you're watching, I think, even though, Ozzy Osbourne obviously is a rock legend, and Sharon Osbourne is a legend for us. I mean, she's an amazing manager, and she's a PR goddess, and she knows, excuse me, they've had genuine trials and pain in their life, and they came from nothing. They didn't, they're not kids they weren't born into money, basically.
No, definitely
so I think
not.
It was a lot more real. And I know people are going to say now, how can you flag off the Kardashians saying that you've never watched an episode? But trust me, everybody in the UK that doesn't watch the Kardashians know what's going on, because they're forever selling stories to the press, or there are news clips on, or they're on YouTube or something. Do you know what I mean? So we're all very aware of who the Kardashians are. We're just not necessarily that interested. So I'm just popping that in, so I'm aware. So yeah, so back to the Osbournes. I think that was much more real, basically, and no pun intended. I think it was just a much more honest show, and you were genuinely seeing them, because they were definitely no holds barred. I mean, Sharon Osbourne is still famous for, or infamous for not holding back. When she's got something to say, she says it, and that's, I think, why she has a lot of respect from people as well. So different things together.
I love Sharon Osbourne, and she now is one of the co-hosts on one of the America's most popular talk shows called The Talk, which apparently has higher ratings than The View now. I mean, she did have her own show for a while, but again, that only ran for a couple, 2 or 3 seasons, I think. But she, I'll give her due. She really knows how long to do something for, because I think the public are fickle, and they do get fed up. And this is why I'm surprised that the Kardashians has gone on as long as it has. They've had to bring new characters in this season, like they've got Brody Jenner and Bert Jenner, who are what's his name? Can't think of his name. The father, Bruce Jenner's children. But it's just getting to the point now where it's so damn boring that it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
We don't want to see you going and buying a toothbrush. We can all go buy a toothbrush.
Yeah, and that's it. To me, though, it just looks like the Beverly Hillbillies with money, basically. It's kind of just really vacuous people. I have no interest at all in it. But then, I suppose eventually people will get bored. But it's the viewing figures, I suppose, at the end of the day, isn't it? They're going to keep making it as long as people keep watching it. And that's at the end of the day what it's all about.
Exactly. So, and if you could bottle whatever... Sorry, go on.
No, that was it. I'm just saying, we're stuck with it as long as people keep watching it. So, but you're right, yeah.
Right. I mean, if you could bottle that allure, if you could actually pinpoint exactly what it is that attracts people to any given show or product, you would be raking it in, because who'd have actually thought that half of the things that have been successful would be? I mean, look at the Beatles. They were turned down so many times before someone signed them, and then they got signed, and they were obviously a global phenomenon. But it just takes that one person with vision to be able to actually take something and make it better. You know, actually turn it into something absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely. Well, J.K. Rowling, I think, was turned down. Harry Potter was turned down. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it was something like 12 agents turned her down. And then eventually somebody saw the story. Somebody saw the story and picked it up, and the rest is history. But I think it was something like 12 times she was turned down. So it just goes to show, So yeah, definitely it takes vision. And I remember Meatloaf in an interview saying that his record label turned Cyndi Lauper down originally as well. So it just goes to show,
Yeah.
You just don't know who's walking through the door.
I've seen her in several interviews say that how she was turned down. But I think it's an all too often occurrence. Lady Gaga was turned down several times. I mean, someone obviously saw the real potential in what she had to offer. And now she's like a multi. She's a billionaire or something. I don't know if she's as rich as Madonna, but even Madonna got turned down. Even Madonna got passed by several times. I mean, I like Madonna, don't get me wrong, but she's. I'm probably going to get lots of death threats for saying this, but she's not the best singer in the world, is she? Let's face it.
Well, I think for Madonna, I think vocally everything turned around when she played Eva Peron. And I still say she should have got an Oscar for that performance. I think it was outrageous that she was overlooked. But I think clearly she had vocal lessons. She can argue with me if she wants, but I think clearly she had vocal lessons for that movie. And quite rightly, I don't mean this in any way as a derogatory thing, but and her voice improved greatly because Ray of Light, that album, her voice changed massively after that.
Right.
So it got a lot better. But I think the thing with Madonna, but she said herself she wasn't the world's greatest singer, but the thing with Madonna is she was a great self-publicist. She knew how to get an audience going, and she just changed, she reinvented herself constantly. She knew, again, she knew when to change, when to move, when to alter things, So people didn't get bored. It was always something new. It was exciting waiting for her to release a new album because you genuinely didn't know what you were going to get. But you knew whatever Madonna did, it was always high quality. There was, it was never trash that she released. It was always great, and the videos were always exciting to wait to see. And she always had those great images as well with her music. So she knew what she was doing. Still does know what I keep saying like she'd gone away, but you know what I mean. But at the height of her career, but she made musical history as well. That's another thing to remember about Madonna. Whatever anybody says about her, whether you love her or loathe her, she made musical history. But she was a woman and is a woman. She was visionary. She knew what she was doing, and somebody saw that potential in her and took a chance. And I'm now sure are extremely pleased that they did take that chance. And there was the same people like that, same with people like Annie Lennox and Eurythmics, in the 80s. They constantly reinvented themselves. Annie Lennox constantly reinvents herself. And she's still, one of the most prominent women in music. And it's all about that kind of understanding, isn't it? And understanding your audience and knowing when to change and when to keep them and how to keep them excited, because that's the point as well, and keeping yourself excited. And I think as long as you don't allow yourself to slip into mediocrity and slip into to become comfortable and think that that's a safe place to be, I think that's when you disappear, when you think that you don't have to try.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would have expected that Madonna's career would have lasted as long as it has. And I think just when people are ready to write her off, she comes back and shocks the hell out of you again.
Yeah, totally.
But for me, I heard people saying, I don't know how old she is now, but when she turned 50, they were saying, oh, she shouldn't be doing pop anymore and blah, blah, blah. But, why does getting to a certain age mean that you can't do something? I mean, she still got it. She still looked
Absolutely.
Good. Obviously, I don't find her physically attractive because I like guys, but But I know young guys that are like, Madonna is like, so hot. She's like white hot, and that's great, But age should never be a bar too.
No, of course it shouldn't. And it's a nonsense to say that. I mean, I think she's 55 now, but it's a nonsense to say that. I mean, look at Cher now. She's 67. She's on a world tour. She looks amazing. I don't think her voice has been it's better than ever. And who cares? And of course, our friend Colton Ford, who's in his early 50s, looks amazing, sounds amazing. Why should people? And I'm saying this as well. I've got to say, I'm 49 in February, for God's sake. Why should we, because we're no longer 25, sit down and put our slippers on? I think it's outrageous to say that. And Madonna still looks great. Cher still looks amazing. Annie Lennox still looks amazing. Colton looks fantastic. So why should we all be lying down and retiring third or not being able to sing?
Cher is 70. Can you believe that?
No, she's 67.
Is she?
Yeah, she's 67. She was on the Graham Norton show earlier. Yeah, she was on the Graham Norton show earlier this year because she was promoting the tour, obviously, and the new album. And she said that, she's 67. But she looks incredible, and her voice is still amazing. And I think her voice is better now than it was 10 years ago.
Right.
And she's still, for me, I'm a huge fan anyway, but she's still a legend. But she's still got it. So why shouldn't she still be doing it? Tina Turner was still performing at 70, still had an amazing voice. Why should people not be, if you still got it? And more importantly, if your fans want you, still want to hear you, still want to see you, then that's telling you you're doing something right. These people are still at the top of the game, so clearly they're doing something right. I
think so too, and I think ultimately, like you said, it's about still having that fan appeal at whatever stage you're at. But I think that people like Cher. She surprises me how. She makes comebacks all the time. She goes off and she enjoys her life, and then she'll come back and do an album. But what a great way to live! I would love, I'd love to be successful enough to have to do an album every couple of years, and because if what you've got is good, it should, your age should never be a bar to that. But I think that Cher is absolutely amazing. I really do.
Absolutely, and the important thing as well for us as musicians, and I know you'll agree, is all the people we've mentioned there, Madonna, Annie Lennox, Cher, Colton, and others, they are still more than capable of performing live. They're all excellent live performers, a lot better than some of the kids that are wandering around now. And so again, they're not just showing that it's got nothing to do with age. It's also about talent that's still there, and it's very strong.
Right.
And they're still putting it out there, So again, that, more important than ever.
Apparently some TV shows only let you lip sync. I don't know why that is, but I wouldn't do a TV show and lip sync. I cannot abide that. Because if you're a singer, you sing. And, you said earlier about people's voices getting better with age. My voice has always been particularly good, as has yours, but as the older I get, the better it gets. Because I think you learn how to use it. It's like if you've been playing the guitar for 30 years, your guitar playing will become better and better all the time because, the more you do it, the more you actually know how to control it,
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I wouldn't lip sync unless I absolutely had to, because I constantly forget my own lyrics. So sometimes you've seen me do it. I have to. I rewrite them as I sing them. So if I was lip syncing, you would know very quickly because I'd forget them and I'd get it wrong. So I'm not into lip syncing at all. But live music should be live anyway. I mean, the only time you should be lip syncing is if you're making a music video, obviously. Then you've got to lip sync, unless it's a live video, obviously. But other than that, music should be live, and there's no reason it shouldn't be.
They overlay the track over the video, don't they, to make it as good as it possibly can be. I think that's perfectly acceptable. Why would you sing live in a music video? I don't know many people that would. Do you?
No, but if you're making a promotional video, do you know what I mean? Then obviously you're lip syncing. The music's being played in the background, and you're lip syncing to it because you've got dances going on. Depending on the kind of video. And again, Colton's new video's out. Is it this month?
No, it's next month.
Next month. But Lady Gaga, Madonna, famous for making these amazing PR videos, these pop videos. you can't sing live to those, obviously. So you're lip syncing.
No.
That's perfectly acceptable, and you want to, because you want to make those. They tell their stories, they're pieces of art, really. So you want that to happen. But as far as if you're stood in front of a microphone, in front of an audience, then why would you be lip syncing? It should be live, and if you can't do it, then don't do it at all. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to music, I'm afraid. When it comes to live music, I am a snob.
I can't disagree with you. I really can't disagree with you. I would not want to pay good money to go and see somebody lip sync.
No.
It's not.
No, not at all.
It's damn lazy. I do understand if you're doing, and not at a concert, but if you're doing a performance and it's all dancing and stuff, that why you would want to lip sync. Lady Gaga never lip syncs. Did you know that? She won't lip sync either.
No, I'm quite right, because she doesn't have to. She's a fantastic live performer. She's got an amazing voice. Why would you want to hide that? Do you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you want to perform live? And as a musician, I think it's insulting for somebody to say, no, we want you to lip sync, because what you're saying to me, you're saying that you don't have the confidence that I can do this, or you're just too damn lazy to get me a decent sound engineer, So no, if you want somebody to lip sync, find somebody else, because I don't want my fans watching a TV show and looking at each other going, is he miming? No, not a chance.
Because it happens, doesn't it? I've been sat there with people watching shows and people are like, is he miming? They always do it.
Absolutely.
If they look like, and let's say that you actually go with the things that you're skilled at. And if you're, I've tried lip syncing. It doesn't work for me. I find that my voice is kind of like wanting to come out. When I lip sync, it's like, no, I don't like it. I would far rather, because I never sing a song the same twice. Do you? I kind of like. I don't have a uniformed way of singing, and even if I'm singing a cover, I don't sing exactly the same as the person that wrote the song. I kind of give it my own version.
No, of course not. And yourself, you never perform a song the same way twice, because emotionally you connect. Even if it's your own song, you connect emotionally to it differently every time you sing it, because it depends what space you're in at the time, and you approach it differently each time. And depending on an audience, how you're connecting with that audience or where the atmosphere is of that audience, you approach a song differently. So it's never the same twice. And that, again, though, I think is the whole point of live music. It shouldn't be the same every single time you sing it. It should be, music is organic, and it should change, and it should grow, and it should expand all the time. So, yeah, that's the point, again, of live music, absolutely.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So we're coming to the end of our time together today, Tyhe. Remind people where they can find you on social media, et cetera, et cetera. And is your website's coming very soon, isn't it? So people will be able to check you out there. It
absolutely is. It will be up at the end of August, yes. So I'll tell you all about that in the next couple of weeks. Yes, we have a final meeting next week to get that sorted, and I've spoken to our web host, who is eagerly awaiting our final meeting, because I've driven him insane, the poor man. So that will be up. But for now, for now, you can just follow me on Twitter. It's really easy, which is @Tyhe Egar, which is capital T, capital P, capital E. I'm still never ever going to get bored of doing that. So just follow me on Twitter for now, or TP Egar on Facebook is the writing page. And yeah, that's me for now.
And he's also on Instagram. Check him out. Follow him on Instagram too. And make sure you follow him and keep up to date with what he is doing. And you'll be able to, if you follow Tyhe on Twitter, you'll be able to get early advance notice of when his second book will be coming out. So make sure to keep in touch with Tyhe. So what have you got planned for this week, Tyhe? Anything interesting? Just, God, I seem so boring, don't I? Actually, I've just got a meeting, and I'm at a meeting with this week for the, because I'm starting to write now the tracks for the solo album, which won't be out until next year, but we're going to record a couple of tracks for you for the TV show towards the end of the year, which will be live tracks. Now, I've said all that. But yeah, so we're writing the tracks now for the solo album, which will be called Rain in Reality. And that'll be out early next year. So we're starting writing that. And obviously now I'm just writing as quickly as I can. I'm writing the second book, because I want that hopefully to be out at the end of the year. So. Yeah, it's a stretch. I was hoping to get my second book out by the end of the year, but I don't think that's going to happen now with a TV show and a radio show to contend with. But it will definitely be coming. So, Tyhe, thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you will come back and join us again very soon and give us your own personal interpretation of what's going on in the news. But for now, thanks for joining us today, the one and the only Mr. T.P. Egar. Thanks a lot, Tyhe. Take care.
Bye. Pleasure. See
Lots
you soon.
Love. Bye. Bye.
Love. Bye.
That was my good friend, Tyhe Paul Egar, author, singer, songwriter, broadcaster. Make sure you check him out and follow him on social media. We are about at the end of the show now. Make sure you come and join us next time, where my guest co-host will be, I've forgotten. My brain has died. Yes, it's Joe Messina. And my guest in part 2 will be psychic and medium Gina Marie. So make sure you join us for that. I hope you will check out my new website. Make sure you go and have a look at that right now. It's got everything on there that's coming with the TV shows, the radio shows, the books, everything. www.xandergibb.com. Make sure you go check that out. Thanks to Tyhe. Thanks to everybody who's been listening. And we will see you next time. I love you all. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.